My name is John Cerruto, and on behalf of Hometown TV, I would like to welcome you to the 2025 Summit Candidates Forum. Having local candidates engaging in a formal discussion on mostly opposing views and methods is very uncommon these days. Few communities, as well as political party leaders, surprise, surprise, can agree on terms to put out a format like this. Our forum, which is really a debate, an opportunity to publicly air out positions on local issues while remaining dignified and civil towards our opponent. By doing so, our citizens are granted a chance to learn about candidates in a manner not otherwise afforded. HTTV would like to extend our appreciation to the party chairs, Nick Curiel and Greg Vartan. Please stand up, gentlemen. As well as these individuals at the table who have the courage and the dedication to run for public office. Please, let's give them a round of applause also. Holding political office requires an individual to make numerous personal sacrifices due to the demands of the position. Extensive research and fact-finding, being accessible at inconvenient times, putting in long hours for meetings and events, cell phones, always being active with calls, text, emails. It really doesn't stop. And you have an added bonus. The position includes many of these activities and decisions to be determined under the scrutiny and oversight and often criticism from a very ambitious and knowledgeable population. That was diplomatic. That being said, 3 of you will win the trust and hold the honor of representing a very special community. You will govern over the next few years. It is truly a privilege. So we appreciate your efforts. We're going to have a good night. Good luck during this debate. Now, a debate. It's going to have some rules and regulations to it. Some of the general ground rules, and the candidates are aware of it. I'd like to share them with the public. Tonight's issues and positions are to remain local, not personally attacking any individuals or institutions. The candidates are to answer questions in an informative and constructive manner. The questions were chosen through a combination of topics emailed to Hometown TV, the HTTV staff that covers all the council meetings, and with the help of Chris Whiteman, the editor of Summit Tappan. Once again, this year, many questions emailed were about the same topic. So whenever possible, we simplified and generalized the questions. A timekeeper, the former HCT station manager, Amanda Olson, will regulate the clock. She will be right here. But the moderator might permit a statement to finish beyond the allotted time if they feel, in their opinion, the statement could or should have been concluded. They will then interrupt. The order of questioning will be rotated throughout the forum, so each of the candidates will have an opportunity to respond in a fair and equitable order. There will be no questions or comments coming from the audience, and please, no applause unless instructed by the moderator. No other form of interruption should take place. Cell phones and electronic devices are not permitted for the candidates, which they are aware of. The only form of video will be from HTTV, who will be airing the forum unedited over the next 8 weeks. If you would like a link, you can contact our station. Again, Verizon 33, Comcast 36. The candidates can only use prepared comments for their opening and closing statements. Notes can be taken once the debate begins. A special thank you to the Summit Police Department for providing Matt Inglesi. Matt, thank you for being here tonight. We are very fortunate this year to have Liz Newell as our moderator. You know, she's one of 5 Newells that have graduated, was raised and graduated here from Summit High School. She's been part of the Atlantic Health System for 23 years. She's an active board member of GRACE, the Junior League of Summit, and of course, Hometown TV. She's previously served on the Summit Zoning Board and the Summit YMCA Board, but most importantly, She is passionate about Summit like all the people that are here tonight. So please welcome Liz Newell.
Thank you, John. Thank you for, unfortunately, I picked the short straw, so that's why I'm here. But thank you for the lovely introduction. And thank you to the community, can I move this? For coming out tonight. I'm excited for all of us to get to know the candidates tonight as neighbors, because that's what we are, not just political opponents. These candidates are willing to give up their time from families to serve our city. The Common Council is probably the most thankless volunteer position in our city, second only to the Zoning Board. I know that very well. So I applaud you for your willingness and to serve, and good luck, and let's begin the introductions. So from the at-large Democrat is Dan Crisafulli. And after I read all the names, then we can applause. Okay, thank you. And then at-large Republican Kevin Smallwood. Ward 1, Jacqueline LaSaracina, Democrat, and Republican Delia Hamlet. Ward 2, Chantel Landman, Democrat, and also Ward 2, Tom Ziebler, Republican. So we're going to just go over the questioning format. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for an opening statement, and Amanda is, right there, so you can know where your timing is. Each candidate will have up to 90 seconds to answer questions coming from myself. There will be a 30-second rebuttal if you choose to. The opportunity to answer questions first will be alternated equally throughout the process, Republican, Democrat. There are 6 candidates, and the same questions I might ask all, depends on how I see things are going, but we'll figure it out, and a way of keeping you on your toes. A rapid-fire round of questions will be asked. Each candidate will have 45 seconds to answer. The debate will be concluded with the candidates giving a 2-minute summary. And the opportunity to start was done by a coin toss. And the Democrats won, so Dan, you, Mr. Crisafulli, will start off. Yes.
Well, hello everyone. I'm Dan Crisafulli, and I'm running for the at-large seat on Summit's Common Council. A big thanks to HGTV and Liz Newell, our moderator. Thank you. I'm running because Summit is a very special town that has done so much for my family. Our daughter is a proud Summit High School grad, and until recently, we had my mother living with us. But I see Summit at risk with rising taxes, unsustainable development, and stormwater that floods our homes. I'm from small town Pennsylvania, where my parents were public school teachers and small business owners. My grandfather was the Maytag man. I was fortunate to earn scholarships to Dartmouth and then to Harvard, and I built a career investing for sustainability, positive impact on communities and the environment. Early in my career, I also advised governments on public policy. I share a lot with Kevin Smallwood, my opponent. We both care about fighting crime, fighting overdevelopment. He's coached kids' sports. I mentor young entrepreneurs, and I was reappointed to the Environmental Commission by Mayor Fagan. But here's where we differ. While Kevin and his colleagues on council are good at talking about problems, they're not as good at fixing them. And the result is historic increases to our taxes, unfinished projects, and multiplying lawsuits. In addition, Kevin has made statements publicly that are unbecoming of a public servant. As councilman, I bring deep and relevant experience. I'm an independent thinker who will work with transparency and respect. And I ask you to join me to protect what makes Summit special. Together, Summit, we can fix this.
Thank you. Mr. Smallwood?
First, I'd like to thank Ms. Dole for moderating this and HCTV for supporting this as well. And most importantly, all of you as concerned residents. Since being sworn in on January 3rd, 2024, I've been focused on what you, the citizens and residents, told me was most important. I get my direction from you: safer streets, stronger recreation, fiscal responsibility, and caring for our community. On safety, we added 2 new police officers and budgeted for 2 more this year to keep your neighborhoods well patrolled. Passed a resident protection ordinance to help deter home break-ins and car thefts. As a result of this action, break-ins to motor vehicles from 2023 to 2025 year-to-date is down 92% since taking office. On community well-being, I worked with Mayor Fagan's Homeless Task Force to bring the right professionals together, housing 24 individuals addressing mental health and drug addiction within 14 months, and making Summit functional zero homelessness. That's what collaboration and compassion and action looks like. On recreation, we're working to add lights to Tatlock Field with a balanced public-private partnership so that thousands of Summit students have safe and ample field space. The youth of Summit, our children, the future of our town, we can continue to support and fund playgrounds and park improvements, plan for dog-friendly spaces. We're doing all of this for our children, from the youth sports to the band to the cheerleaders that cheer them on. On fiscal responsibility, we passed the budget to protect core services, leveraging grants and private fundraising and keeping taxpayer dollars focused on projects with community value. We're working with Concord Energy to join an energy aggregation program to lower energy prices by at least 5%. The bottom line, in less than 2 years, we've delivered safer streets, functional zero homelessness, better fields, working to deliver lower cost energy, and more accountable government. This is about protecting families, investing in our kids, caring for the most vulnerable, and I'm proud of the momentum, and I am humbly asking for your vote to keep Summit moving forward.
Thank you. Ms. Laracina?
Good evening. I'm Jacqueline LaSaracina. I'm a public school parent, nonprofit leader, and former attorney and corporate executive. I want to bring my professional skills to Summit Council to make our great town even better. It may sound a little corny, but living in Summit is a childhood dream come true, and I want my 2 young children to feel the same way. The decisions we make today impact tomorrow and years to come. We need to make smarter investments in our schools, public and pedestrian safety, and in support of our seniors. I firmly believe we have everything we need right here to be the best darn place in America. Our schools, our fantastic downtown, public art, beautiful green spaces. All we need is the right leadership to manage those resources. Leadership that listens actively and works collaboratively. Leadership that knows how to budget and prioritize needs over wants to keep our taxes down. Leadership that is accessible and accountable to the community we serve. In my work, I have successfully led high-performance teams. I have overseen multi-million-dollar budgets, and I have led high-performance complex transactions. I want to bring those skills to council so our local government can operate with excellence. I owe an enormous debt to Summit. Last November, Summit Police saved my life. I would not be here without them. So I hear a very loud call to serve this great town we all love. And I hope to earn your vote this November. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hamlet?
I shouldn't touch this. Good evening. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you, Liz, HGTV. It's an honor that you're here tonight. I know it's a busy week with the first week of school. 3 years ago, against all odds, people of Ward 1 put their trust in me. I was a write-in candidate who won by fewer than 40 votes. I promised to be a voice for all of Summit, not a political party. I've kept that promise. My team has always been Republicans, Democrats, and Independents. I've never let labels define me as a council member. Together, we've achieved real results. We stopped Broad Street West. We were told we had to adhere to Broad Street West. We've been protecting our neighborhoods from irresponsible growth. We received immunity for round 3. We strengthened public safety by passing responsible budgets, hiring additional police officers, and deploying crime deterrence. We formed the Mayor's Homeless Task Force, bringing together our police, fire, EMS, clergy, nonprofits, businesses, and residents. And just 14 months later, we're at functional zero. You see the results. Our bus stops are clean, our homeless are housed, our train station is clear and accessible for our residents. We've also invested in the quality of life that makes Summit so special. I've worked closely with our Department of Community Programs to enhance our playgrounds and recreation spaces. I give thanks to them for their continued support for all of these playgrounds and their hard work. This election is about keeping progress going forward. Let me be clear. A vote for my opponent would put all of this at risk. Our fight against overdevelopment, the safety measures we put in place, and even the future of Tatlock Field. I humbly ask for your vote. If you didn't think about voting for me before you came, I hope we'll change your mind tonight. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you. And we're going to have Ward 2, Ms. Landman.
Hi, I'm Chantal Landman, 17-year resident of Summit, a city I love, mom of 2 kids in our outstanding Summit Public Schools, active community volunteer with Grace, SEF, Junior League, and youth sports, former Goldman Sachs executive for over 2 decades, and now candidate for Common Council. Thank you all for being here, and thank you to Liz Newell, the HTTV team, my fellow candidates, and my boys for supporting me tonight. A few years ago, I started listening to Summit Common Council meetings, and what I heard in those meetings troubled me. Throughout my career, I learned that solving complex problems requires listening, transparency, and collaboration. Frankly, I expected the same of my representatives on council, but was disappointed to find they didn't all operate that way. During this time, I also learned that our tax dollars are being poorly managed. Taxes are up significantly. Fees for city services are up, impacting seniors and middle to lower income families. Infrastructure is crumbling while council spends on frivolous projects like paddle courts and pop-up dog parks. I'm running for council because I want to bring my leadership experience, transparency, and collaborative way of working to our city government. I will listen to, advocate for, and problem solve on behalf of all Summit residents. I will be a responsible steward of your taxes, prioritizing needs above wants. I will communicate regularly to ensure the public is empowered with information. I will lead with integrity as a public servant, not a politician. Serving on council would be a great honor, and I hope to earn your vote. Thank you.
Mr. Zeiber? Zeiber? I know. At the end of the night, I will get it right.
It's totally You're not the first, you won't be the last. Hi. My name is Tom Zeber. So I'd like to thank HTTV for hosting this forum, as well as Ms. Newell for moderating. I'd also like to thank my fellow candidates for participating. My name is Tom Zieber, and I've been a resident of Summit since 2019. When my wife and I got engaged in 2020, we had discussions about where we wanted to live as we started our life as a family. For us, it didn't take long to decide that we wanted to stay in Summit, the place we'd met and had so many great memories. We also wanted to stay because we believed Summit was a safe, well-run community. Rather quickly, though, we became alert to the rapidly worsening problems of car thefts, home invasions, and overdevelopment in town under our former council majority. Thankfully, Together for Summit was elected to council and addressed these crises head-on. I'm running to join and contribute to the Together for Summit team through my experience as an attorney in state government and private practice, my time as a high school sports writer for the past 20 years, my tenure as a member of the Summit PAL board, and my work on the board of directors of a mental health nonprofit. To me, this election is, more than anything else, a question of credibility. On one side, you have a team that is the successor to the team that pushed Broad Street West on residents and whose passive approach to crime compromised public safety. On the other, you have Together for Summit, which has taken a responsible approach to development, reduced crime, and brought our community together. I believe that if you aren't going forward, you're going backward, and that's why I decided to run for council, because I want to make sure that the progress made by our current mayor and council majority is not compromised. I'm running because I want to ensure that Summit continues to be the gold standard of New Jersey municipalities. I look forward to sharing my vision for achieving that goal tonight. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Very impressive resumes, all of you. So we're going to start with regular questions. They're 90-second responses. Amanda is the timekeeper. When you see it at 000, please wrap it up. Okay? So, Mr. Smallwood, you are the proud recipient of the first question. And it's the elephant in the room. Lights. Lights on, lights off. Where do you stand on Tadlock Field lights, upper and lower? And do you plan on adding lights on the other fields in Summit?
Thank you for the question. This topic has been in discussion for over 7 years. I believe the first presentation was given to council in 2018. So clearly, 7 years ago, there was a need for field space. As our children become more and more active in athletic sports, we need to provide more in field space. Right now, we have football, lacrosse, soccer, football, softball, field hockey, and as our students expand upon that, and hopefully we encourage that to get them off their screens. Last year I began a series of meetings with the Tadlock neighborhood residents to find out what their concerns were, and through those 5 meetings we were able to determine that we need a task force to achieve and correct some of the issues there. The bottom line is we need the field space for our children. As you can tell, as we were coming here, it was already getting dark. We have students on the fields right now. I'm 100% behind these lights, and we're able to balance the budget for these lights through a private and public partnership. So I 100% support these lights in a responsible way, and I can guarantee you the comments that have been made for the past month is the fact that they'll be on 365 days a year until 10 p.m. That is absolutely not true, and it's unfortunate that that narrative has been spread, that information.
Thank you. Ms. Saracena, your response?
Thanks, Liz. Obviously, recreation, sports, very important. In this moment, I do not support the tack lot lights for one very important reason. There are unheard, really significant concerns from the community, from that neighborhood, with respect to pedestrian traffic, with respect to car traffic, safety, home property value. A lawsuit has resulted because those concerns have not been meaningfully heard. We need to get creative. We need to find other solutions in using the space, negotiating for scheduling rights with respect to neighboring communities. A lot of us, many of the candidates have talked about protecting the character of our neighborhoods, right? Protecting the character of Summit. And that is absolutely true. And the Tatlock community should be afforded that right as well. They have not been heard. Those concerns have not been addressed. So it's not to say that I couldn't support the lights in the future, but with the way that the process has been managed to this point under our current council majority, I cannot support it.
You can have a 30-second rebuttal.
Thank you very much. Just to address some of the concerns that Jackie just brought up, this again, as I mentioned, in 2018, a presentation was given to council. In January of last year was the first time a council member reached out to the neighborhood and held 5 separate community events to find out what the concerns were. We understand that there are parking and traffic issues, and that's something that we will be addressing. But to say that this has not, to delay this any further is just kicking the can down the road. And we have listened, we will address the issues, and the lights will not be on 365 days a year till 10 p.m. I believe, we've heard the feedback and will be addressed, but this is a 7-year issue, and it's time to finally
If you can
act.
wrap it up. Thank you. We're going to keep on going. Ms. Hammett, would you like to respond to that question as well?
So I want everybody just to look outside right now. It's pitch black. If you came here at 7 o'clock, can't see that much. The most important thing that we can all do is support our children, support their mental health. The only way to do that is to get them outside, or one of the main reasons. And we have heard the community. We have had multiple meetings. I will tell you, in the Tatlock meeting that we had with all of the residents, there's overwhelming community support for the lights. As an elected official, you cannot just take one street and not hear the rest of the community. We have hard decisions to make as elected officials. We have to think about all 22,000 residents. I've sat on the front porches of the people who are impacted. I've suggested massive trees. They don't want the trees there. You can't have it both ways. There are ways to do this. If you've seen the new technology, it works. We can, and tomorrow, if you listen to the planning board, we're doing a consistency review. There are a lot of things we can do. The shields can be different. The technology is amazing. We have people, women and men, even children, running around with headlamps at night. We have limited field space. Our children deserves it. Our community deserves it. It's the right thing to do. You have to trust that as elected officials, we will put the right parameters in place. I get more phone calls from everybody all day. I promise you, if the lights go through, we will take all of your concerns. You can call me all day long, but tomorrow at the planning board, I'd love to hear your feedback. Our planners have given great feedback, and we will make sure that the right thing is done.
Thank you. Ms. Landman?
As a mom of kids in Summit who play sports, I'm keenly aware of the lack of field space and court space in town, and I am supportive of putting in lights at the lower Tatlock field. I want to do it, though, in a responsible way, and to me that means the following 3 things need to happen first. 1, we need to resolve the litigation against the city in a way that allows us to proceed with putting in the lights. 2, we need to budget for it in a way that is responsible, meaning there are certain priorities that need to be addressed from the budget before we proceed with the lights and funding for the lights. And the third thing is, and this is to me probably the most important, we absolutely need to honor the commitments we've made to this neighborhood. We've had conversations with the Tatlock community about sidewalks, traffic calming measures, and other things that will make this more acceptable to the community, and find those compromises and make those happen, and address their concerns and questions before we proceed. Thank you.
Sure, for 30 seconds. And keep it to 30 seconds.
Sure. So the one thing I will say is, in the beginning of the year in January, we have certain policies that are set. Those policies include capital improvement projects, debt management. And there's actually, if you get public-private partnership, in which we did with Tatlock Lights, there is a priority, and it is a higher priority. These policies are in the books. If you get public-private partnerships for capital projects, they do get a higher priority. All of these policies are set in January by our city administrator and our common council.
Thank you. Mr. Zeiber? Zieber. Damn.
We got to get this right, Liz. Yeah,
I have another hour.
yeah, I know. I understand. It's okay. Tom Zieber, just for the record here. Look, I just want to share a couple of thoughts on this. So, as I mentioned in my opening statement, I've been a sports writer for 20 years at the high school level. I have seen this situation probably 100 times, where a neighborhood near a prospective light or turf project, neighbors in that community, justifiably so, have concerns about quality of life and about the value of their property. And if you ask those people after the project comes to fruition, maybe 3 to 5 years later, most of them will tell you they are thrilled that it went in. And in fact, their property values usually go up because school facilities, when improved, will raise the value of your property. So that's point one. Number two, the litigation that was referenced. To me, this is pure obstructionism, because I understand there are people in the community who have outright said, vote for the Democratic ticket and there will be no lights. So to me, this is merely a tactic to stall the project. I just want to commend my running mate, Councilman Smallwood, because transparency's been a big word that's been floating around this campaign too. He's taken a ton of community feedback. I can't think of a better way to be transparent than to take as many rounds of back and forth as he's taken. And you know, for those who are upset about the result, I mean, that's not the same thing as not listening. So I would just encourage people to really consider the level of thought that's gone into this. And I think for those who are still resistant, I think you're going to end up happier than you think you will be. So thank you.
Awesome, thank you. And you can
Last
wrap
but
it
not
up.
least, Dan
Exactly.
Crisafulli. So Summit is a sports town. It's one of the things that attracted us here. We support our kids. Sports are critical for all ages. For me, I think we need to have lighted sports facilities. My question here is why we held all of these consultative meetings, but nothing was actually done to assuage the concerns of the community. Sidewalks, traffic calming, this ain't rocket science. So, but instead, my opponent led the stampede to do lights before addressing some very practical and basic concerns of the community. And in the process, he got the city sued. So I support lights, but I support good process that not just listens to neighbors, but actually acts on their interests for the whole community.
Thank you. I don't think anyone addressed the second part of the question, which is, and do you plan on adding lights on other fields in Summit? So who would like to take that on? Okay, Mr. Smallwood. 30 seconds.
Dan turned it off on me. Silencing me already. So, you know, we can chew gum and walk at the same time. They don't necessarily, I mean, unfortunately, and I've never been shy about this, being a small business owner, one of the biggest challenges I have with government is how slow things take. And again, speaking of lights, it's been taking 7 years. We can address, and that's the reason why we created the Tatlock Task Force, so that we could specifically address those concerns of the Tatlock neighborhood. As for lighting other fields, the reason why we chose the Tatlock neighborhood is because it's already turfed. Turfing Memorial Field takes away the last large green space that we have. So as far as I'm concerned, lighting other fields is not an option.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lasaracita, you're going to have the second question, and it's about public safety. Recent statistics show significant decreases in burglaries, car thefts, and other categories over the past year. How do you view current policing efforts, and what additional steps would you support to ensure this positive trend continues?
Thanks, Liz. Public safety is obviously of great concern. Protecting the physical safety of residents and of personal property is the most basic responsibility of government at any level. We are so fortunate to have a really exceptional Summit Police Department. I have been a beneficiary of their support. They are second to none. There are other things I think that we can do to protect the community. Yes, many categories of crime are down. Unfortunately, rates of violent crime have increased, right? The police do a great job of protecting. I believe it is incumbent upon council to communicate. I feel like the really big opportunity with respect to public safety is in communication. We need to empower Hilltoppers with more information about patterns with respect to crime. We need to be better able to protect our households with information like, for homes that were burglarized, were there alarms? Were they armed? Did the alarms go off? Did entry happen through a garage door, an unlocked side door, through a window, etc.? With that information, households would be better able to what we call target harden, right? We would be empowered to make better decisions to protect our homes and protect our children, right? So again, the police protect, and we're so fortunate that we have the best police department. It's incumbent again upon council to communicate more regularly and more clearly, and that's what our team is committed to doing.
Thank you. Ms. Hamlet?
Thank you. Well, I just want to give a quick round of applause to our Summit police officers and those police officers who saved the toddler from the building the other day. If we could just take a moment. You know, I reject the premise that violent crime is up. I don't have the stats, but if you have them, I'd like to look at them. It might be, 2 or 3. I don't know. I'd have to look at those stats. So I reject that premise. It's unknown to me. But I will say, I think everyone would agree that you feel safer than you did before. And that's the bottom line. You see the police cars. Today you see one right in front of Winberry's. You see one in front of Lululemon. You see we have police on bikes now. We're being vigilant. We hired 2 police officers last year, 2 this year. We're committed to keeping this community safe. That's the bottom line. We have a brand new police chief. We have a diverse police force, and we couldn't be more proud of them. We can debate statistics, one-offs, but at the end of the day, I hope that all of you ask yourselves tonight, do you feel safer this year and last year than you did before? The answer is going to be yes.
Ms. Landman? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Larson, would you like to rebut? Thanks.
It's true, there have been improvements when you look at the statistics, but I think it's to our detriment if we say mission accomplished with respect to public safety, right? There are a lot of additional important steps we can take to keep our community safe. Such as with pedestrian safety and bicycle safety. These are some of the most common issues I am hearing on front porches and around kitchen tables. We need to make real investments in traffic calming measures as one point. As a second, I'm out of time. Very quickly as a second point, yes, we do feel safer, but I would say in my neighborhood, we've had 3 home burglaries. In my prior neighborhood, we had 2. So yes, there is, among some a level of safety, but again, it's not mission accomplished. We still have work to do. Our team is committed to getting more creative and keep our community safe.
Thank you. One last rebuttal, and then we can go on. Thanks.
I just want to, for the record, it's never mission accomplished with me. I served 4 years as an active Army officer during Operation Enduring Freedom. Your safety is always our priority 24 hours a day. It is never mission accomplished. The one thing I learned as a young Army officer, anything can happen any day. You have to be prepared, as we saw on 9/11. You never know what's coming. As a council member, we are thinking about your safety and how we can improve every day. We will never be mission accomplished.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Sorry for the delay.
I think there's 2 other points that haven't been highlighted yet that I want to speak about. I'd say the first is related to communication about crime in the city. So residents that I've met during this campaign have spoken to me about the fact that they are hearing less from the police department than they used to hear. And there's a desire to hear more about crimes when they occur, and that it's now safe when when it's completed. For example, I just want to highlight back in May on Walnut Street, guns were drawn on a person on Walnut Street for a suspected car theft, and no communication went out to the city about it. No communication went to Zadie's childcare, a mere feet from where the incident occurred. And they heard about it from parents coming to pick up their children in a panic. That's unacceptable. We need to do better in the way we communicate with our community. The second thing I'd like to highlight is there's an opportunity to invest more in tech-forward solutions for our Summit PD to support them in their efforts, particularly around prevention and detection. And I would like to encourage that we focus more time on that and invest in technology solutions that are more sustainable long-term and affordable long-term, rather than continuing to throw bodies at the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sieber?
Thank you. Yeah, I want to address a couple things. So first of all, my opponent referenced the incident on Walnut Street earlier this year. The police department did exactly what they were supposed to do in that incident. They pursued someone they believed was committing a serious felony. There was some faulty information that was the fault, I understand, of another police department that failed to report that that car had already been recovered. So, I'm not going to hold that against the Summit Police Department for doing their job. I would also say that when it comes to crime and public safety, what I look at is results. And the numbers pretty much tell the whole story. In 2023, there were 82 break-ins to vehicles. In the first 6 months of this year, there were just 3. There were 24 stolen cars in Summit in 2023 and just 6 during the first half of this year. And there were 39 break-ins to homes in 2023 and just 7 in the first half of this year. So, I'm going to try not to use too many corny catchphrases, but numbers don't lie. And it says that the results that Together for Summit has produced, they're good results. They've also hired more officers. They've implemented license plate readers. They've shown greater support to our police department and empowered them to do their jobs. And most of all, they've sent a message to criminals that if you want to commit crimes, Summit is not the place to come and do it. So that's all on that one.
Great, thank you. We're going to go on to another question. Because that was, where are we going to go on? That was a lot of spirited information, which is fabulous. That's why I started with, the first good, engaging questions for you guys. But we have like 15 questions. We have to go through them, right? So that's what the people are here, to really get to know you guys and your opinions on it, and your opinions on our issues with Summit. So we're going to go on to question 3. Summit has earned a reputation as a sustainable and green city through its various initiatives, such as the Free Market, Tiny Forest, and Parkline. Which citywide environmental initiatives would you like to see Summit prioritize moving forward?
Thanks, Liz. So I've served on the Environmental Commission for a number of years now, and I've led Earth Day cleanups. I helped plant the Tiny Forest under the leadership of Donna, our tremendous chair, and I led other initiatives, including energy planning, to save money for the city through installing renewable energy back when these panels were cheaper, before they've gotten expensive. But the city didn't move forward at that time. We could have locked in the savings then. To address your direct question, the most important environmental issue facing Summit is stormwater management. It's happening all over our town. The storms are getting significantly worse. Our homes and our streets were not designed for the current weather conditions, which are only going to get worse. And so currently, we're using Band-Aids, which can be very expensive if we are using them more extensively. And so I am a founding member of a regional group of towns, and our first meeting is later this week, that is sharing experiences on stormwater management, what's working, what's not working. Madison has a study they've done, learning from each other and planning ahead to address this issue, which is really challenging people I'm talking to all over town.
Thank you. Mr. Smallwood?
Thank you for the question. And Dan, I do appreciate your work on the Environmental Commission. When it comes to stormwater management, I think the biggest problem is simply overdevelopment. When you have more impermeable surfaces, that water has less space to go to. And that's, for example, the Salt Brook. We have more water when we have a short period of bursts of rain or even days and days of rain. That Salt Brook raises, and it's really deteriorating neighbors' backyards. Not just one neighbor, but a lot of neighbors along Salt Brook. And that's something that, unfortunately, as a city, we don't necessarily have the single authority to fix that. I got to praise Councilwoman Hamlet for actually bringing out the Army Corps of Engineers and bringing this to the county because we really need their help because it's not something that Summit can do on their own. In terms of lowering costs of energy, that's one of the reasons why we entered into an agreement with Concord Energy so that we could join an energy aggregation program to lower our energy costs by at least 5%. And when I ran in 2023, I also mentioned that one of my focuses was adding solar to our municipal buildings and public buildings. We actually had an engineer company put together a comprehensive plan that has given us a step forward, and hopefully within the next month, we will be able to introduce an opportunity to add solar to our Department of Community Programs building that we are currently in right now.
Thank you. Rebuttal?
It's not really a rebuttal, it's more of an addition.
Okay.
So if we're waiting for the Army Corps to come, we'll be waiting a long time. Congressman Kane took a photo opportunity with council last year for sidewalks with a grant of over $500,000 that he then voted against this year. So we cannot count on the feds to bail us out on this stuff. We have to take measures into our own hands. And beyond that, just having more channels that pass it downstream or just putting it onto the next neighbor. We need new approaches that keep the water, makes the ground more absorbent. Overdevelopment is a problem. We need to look at our zoning. When you have a tear down of a property and you cut down all the trees, you need to address the water issues.
Thank you. Just a reminder, if we can keep it to 90 seconds and then a 30-second, because we have a lot to go through, and we have a lot of people who want to hear. There's a reason. There's 15. It's all good. You'll all be heard. Ms. LaSaracino?
I agree. Actually, it's nice when we agree. I think the two most important issues are long-term strategic stormwater management and getting in control of our destiny of electricity and power usage, right? With respect to the first, under the current leadership, unfortunately, they've taken a very reactive approach, and to draw on what Dan said, we're putting Band-Aids on a deluge. We need to invest regionally, work with the right experts to make real investments in long-term stormwater management and extreme weather resilience. With respect to solar, we are all dealing with it, right, in our households, rising electricity and other energy costs. With real investments in solar, we can, again, become more in control of our energy consumption and energy costs. We have a lot of great opportunities around town with our schools, other municipal buildings, to generate energy with solar. Our team is working on a strategic plan for years 1 through 3. Solar power is something that we're going to consider, and we're committed to actually making the investment happen.
Awesome. Thanks. Ms. Hamlet?
Thank you. Well, I would reject the fact that we haven't done enough. I think I've been in more of your basements than I care to admit to. I get calls every day on stormwater management. Whether you're at Memorial Field, Canoe Parkway, Oak Ridge, I have a very good understanding. The one thing everybody hasn't talked about tonight, and I'm looking at Tom Getzendanner back there. Tom Getzendanner wrote a very good watershed plan many, many years ago. We need to look at our watersheds. We need to find that plan. He spent a lot of time evaluating the watersheds. Stormwater management, kind of a buzzword, right? It's a buzzword. Where we live is a problem. The Passaic Height is a problem. Newark Bay is a problem. We have to look at all of our drainage. We're doing that. We're actively doing that. And as far as the Salt Brook goes, the DEP completely recognized that that stream bank needs to be stabilized. The only way to do that is to engage higher agencies. And it takes time, but we simply can't ignore it. Stabilizing the stream isn't going to just send the water down the Passaic. It's going to improve the quality of life. I spend a ton of time up at Memorial Field because the drainage problem's there. We are looking at some ordinances, as Dan Crisafulli mentioned, regarding zoning. And things might get more strict in zoning. We have 4 or 5 ordinances that we're looking at now, but nobody can have more empathy on stormwater management and flooded basements. And the last thing I will say is that the one thing I'm a huge advocate for is managing stormwater during construction. We're not doing it right now. If you have a home who's being constructed next to you, you see it. They're not managing their stormwater. They don't have to, and I'd like to fix that.
Thank you. Ms. Landman, we're going to finish up with this question, and we're going to go to the lightning round.
Sure, okay. I'm also focused heavily on stormwater management. There are solutions that we can implement upstream on the Salt Brook to help reduce erosion and flooding issues there. As Dan mentioned, he's partnering with other municipalities to learn best practices. We can't count on support from the county or the state. We can't wait for that any longer. This is an urgent issue, it's an important issue, and we can fix it.
Thank you. Mr. Sieber? I just want to see if you're paying attention.
I'm paying attention. Just a couple thoughts here. So I want to agree with, I think it was Dan, overdevelopment is the problem, and the best way we can, begin to solve the problem of the stormwater management issues is to not use up the little permeable land we have left. But unfortunately, our opponents are the next generation of the team that tried to push the biggest piece of overdevelopment Summit's ever seen. So as I said earlier, I think credibility is an issue on that argument. I think your original question was initiatives that we'd like to see. I think it'd be kind of cool to have more charging stations. We have a Tesla in our home. I know some people haven't quite figured out if they like electric cars yet. I kind of like them. So it would be, I think, a nice thing to have those around town in some more spots. I would also just say that we can't solve large environmental issues in Summit if surrounding communities are not. If we're doing everything right, but New Providence isn't, and Chatham isn't, and Berkeley Heights isn't, and that's not to imply they're not, but the point is that, anyone who suggests we can solve climate change in one municipality it's pure grandstanding and it's not real. So I think, just to wrap it up, overdevelopment is the issue, and we've got to make sure that we don't do that, and I think one team here has the record of showing that they won't let that happen.
Okay, we have one rebuttal, Ms. Laricina.
Overdevelopment is a really important issue, and I feel like we need to watch what they do, not what they say. My opponent claims to fight overdevelopment, but she put her stamp of approval on an overdevelopment project in East Summit. Because of their incompetence and their false toughness against overdevelopment, we are now subject to 3 lawsuits with respect to development, 2 builders and 1 with Fair Share. We are one of only 16 municipalities out of over 400 across New Jersey that are subject to a Fair Share lawsuit. If we lose any one of them, the results will be catastrophic and could add up to 500 new units to Summit.
All right, you opened up Pandora's box, so we have a couple more rebuttals here.
I think the word you used was incompetent. Is that the word? That's something I haven't been called recently, but okay. I will tell you, Fair Share objected to about 420 of the 460 municipalities. The entire council, and I got permission from my city solicitor to say this, the entire council, it's not deliberative anymore, approved Harmon Holdings. That is a fact. They are not lawsuits, they are objections.
Okay, we're going to move it on. We will, because we have a lot of questions going on. And I love the engagement that we have. This is fabulous. And hopefully on social media tomorrow will be good for me. So we're going to go to the 45-second response. It's called rapid fire. I'm going to have, let's see, Ms. Hamlet start off with this one. Name an example of accomplishment achieved by the other party that you admire and why you appreciate it.
Well, I will look at Ms. Toth in the front here. I think she did a great job with the budget. We applauded Claire during the budget. She had a nice process. I don't think there were too many disagreements in the financial committee. She had an organized approach, and I think with Mike McTiernan's leadership and that team, I think they did a really nice job. I think that we appointed a Democratic council person the last 2 years as the head of finance. That shows that bipartisanship matters. Right? We all agreed on our fair share plan, except for one council member at the very last minute. We all agreed. No one wants those 3 projects in this city. That is the bottom line.
Thank you. Ms. Saracena?
I'm sorry, I'm going to riff a little bit more on overdevelopment, if that's okay. I just want to speak a little bit more because unfortunately
Actually, we should keep to the topic the question that I had.
Okay. Okay. I think there has been very meaningful progress that was started under prior leadership with Mayor Nora Radis, the prior council, and our really excellent community organizations here in Summit and regionally to support our unhoused population. Due credit absolutely to Mayor Fagan. Under her leadership, she started the Mayor's Task Force for Homelessness. And again, there was great progress that was made by our community organizations, our faith organizations. It's really important work. It started, the work was smartly continued, and I think we owe a huge debt of gratitude to the mayor's leadership there, and again to our community organizations, faith organizations, our first responders, and others.
Awesome, thank you. Mr. Smallwood? Mr. Smallwood?
Oh,
yes.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I thought you were going to ask a new question.
The same one.
I'm sorry, could you
Sure.
repeat the question?
Name an example of accomplishment achieved by the other party that you admire and why you appreciate it. It's a 45-second rapid response.
An accomplishment
By the other party,
by the other party?
yes. It's a feel-good question.
Okay. I think the greatest accomplishment that in recent memory was the fact that they finally listened to the residents and stopped Broad Street West.
Okay, awesome. Mr. Christophili?
So I'll make it personal. I think with Kevin, I really admire his dedication to youth sports in Summit, Police Athletic League, and all the rest. His focus on getting the fields upgraded, and his focus on lighting. I would have done it a bit differently, but I think his heart's in the right place.
Awesome, thank you. We're going to have another rapid response that Ms. Landman is going to answer. How do you propose we hold Summit Housing Authority accountable to maintain buildings within our city?
So it's a great question. It's actually something that...
Actually, it's Ms. Landman.
In terms of holding the Housing Authority accountable for improvements, is that what you said? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. And maintenance. I think that we should start by establishing standards that we expect them to achieve. I don't think we can hold people accountable for things until we've told them what it is we want them to be accountable for. So I think we need to define those standards and be clear with the Housing Authority about what it is we expect them to do, and provide the resources or, backstop, if you will, in the event they don't have the resources to achieve those targets as they are. And then I think the last thing is I think we should engage with the residents to make sure that they are getting the services that they expect and that the maintenance is happening in the way they would expect and that we've defined. And if not, we need to hold them accountable.
Awesome, thank you. Mr. Zieber?
This is out of control.
I know.
I actually, in large part, I agree with Ms. Landman. I think there has to be clear standards set for the Housing Authority. I disagree partially with her answer because I think we can expect, of course, give them standards and that will make it clearer what we expect. But I think there's some level of substandard quality of these, dwellings that I don't think it should take that for them to understand that maintenance is a must. So I think I like 66% agree and maybe 33% don't. Standards would be great, but also we need to just let them know that anything less is unacceptable.
Awesome. Ms. Hamlet, would you like to respond?
This is one of the topics that I'm most passionate about. In fact, today we talked about it in committee, and I said, how can we get the Board of Health to get into the Summit Housing Authority? Because all I hear is there's mold and there's poor conditions. Unfortunately, it's an independent organization, so we can't set the standards for the Housing Authority. I wish we could. I've tried to engage make meetings with the residents. I was told to make an appointment with the director. It hasn't been easy. So I, today, suggested that the Board of Health go in and inspect public spaces. I have residents calling me all the time. It's very, very sad. This should be a priority for Summit. We're better than this. I door knock there all the time. Their storage units have holes in them. Their items are getting wet. It's unacceptable in the city of Summit. And I'm urging that attorney to have the Board of Health inspect those common spaces immediately.
Thank you. Ms. Lasaracita?
Absolutely, and we need to invest holistically in support of our working families, lower income families, and in support of our seniors, right? And I'd like to talk briefly there. Unfortunately, under the current leadership, the Silver Summit, committee was disbanded in the past year. This shows a lack of commitment to our seniors. We need to make real investments in support of our more mature community, right? We want to keep them here. We need to think about affordability. We want them to be enriched and be able to share all of the wonderful skills and stories that they have to share with us. I have put forth a plan with respect to Silver Summit 2.0. That work will continue, and I look forward to bringing Silver Summit back.
Awesome, thank you. No rebuttals on the rapid response. Sorry. So, next question. Kevin. Our downtown is amazing. How can you help sustain vitality in our downtown on a regular basis, similar to the vibe at the farmer's market? Our downtown is amazing. How can you help sustain vitality in our downtown on a regular basis, similar to the vibe at the farmer's market?
That's a great question. Our downtown is outside of our children, it is the crown jewel of our city. And there are fluctuations between vacancies that fluctuate between 88 and 95%. So really depending on the season, the type of stores that are closing. Unfortunately and fortunately, our town used to be filled with mom and pop shops, as you would call them. And now we've got, unfortunately, they're slowing down. But unfortunately, we have larger box stores that are coming in, investing in our town. I think the one thing that we need to do is continuing. We need to do a better job with garbage pickup, and we need to set an ordinance so that we don't have garbage sitting out on the streets either overnight or through the through the weekend. So that's something that we need to work on.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Christofelli?
Thank you. Summit Downtown is one of our crown jewels. I've been talking to merchants who are experiencing the same changes that most towns in our country are changing. People are shopping on Amazon and they're not going to their local stores as much as they used to. So I think downtown looks great, but under the surface there are risks. I think we need to talk to folks who work downtown, who manage these shops, who are the store owners, property owners, to creatively think about how we plan ahead for these changing shopping patterns to preserve this crown jewel of our town.
Thank you. Ms. Landman?
I agree that our downtown is super vibrant and is a reason why so many of us love living here. I think there are a couple things that we can do. Having talked to store owners downtown, they would like some help with parking. So things that we can do to incentivize people to park at the DeForest lots, to pull parking away from Springfield Avenue and allow more people to park downtown would be one thing. And then the second thing I would say, we haven't talked on this yet, but I would like to find a way to bring back the Maple Street closure, even if it's for 48-hour periods during summer months only. I think it's something we should do. The shopkeepers and the restaurant owners downtown truly appreciated it when we had it in place, and there's a way to bring it back.
Thanks. Mr. Ferber. Z. Ferber.
Yeah, so I think, on the Maple Street closure topic, I think whether one favors that or doesn't favor that, we have to acknowledge that that is really helping a segment of businesses more than others. I've kind of thought that something that might be a cool idea would be something akin to like a trade fair, where a larger scale event where our eateries and our retailers would be able to show off their product, because we know they produce great products. And if promoted correctly, where we'd have a volume of people who are coming in for this larger scale event, once they see the product that's being produced by our retail establishments and our restaurants, I think those people will be more likely to come back and shop here and eat here more often. Also, Kevin touched on the garbage pickup issue. I think it could be good to keep the dump open a little bit later, maybe one night a week, just to give people more opportunities for self-drop-off.
Thank you. Okay, so it wasn't one of my questions, but since it was brought up about the street closure, what are your opinions on using a parking lot off of Bank Street? Wouldn't that fit our need? Ms. Landman, I'm going to just have you, since you brought it up.
Sure. I think it's definitely a feasible option that we should explore. I think whatever we do, wherever we put it, to have a pedestrian mall type of installment downtown, again, not in a way that would necessarily congest traffic, so maybe 48 hours on the weekends in the summer, or cause more compounded parking issues by taking away that lot. So we need to get creative, but I think the important thing here is to support our small businesses in town, support our restaurants, bring back that excitement that we used to feel when we would, gather as a community on Maple Street during the summer when it was closed.
Okay, cool. Anyone else want to respond? Mr. Smollett?
Thank you. I love pedestrian areas, and unfortunately, because of the lack of attention to our infrastructure, such as our tier garage downtown, over decades, we've now had to close the top 2 levels of our tier garage. So as much as I would love to have a pedestrian mall, we actually have a parking problem now. We didn't used to. The only parking problem that we had before was that someone couldn't find the parking spot that was in the front of the store that they wanted to go into. We've had plenty of parking. But now because we had to close down 2 floors of our tier garage because of lack of attention and maintenance, our infrastructure is crumbling. And that's something that we need to take care of before we decide to close a parking spot or a parking lot on Bank Street.
Okay, thank you. I just threw that out there.
No, and I appreciate that question.
We can do ad hoc.
I love it, thank you.
I'm sorry? And then
Just one quick thought. There's a film-friendly town program that New Jersey has. We've had some films shot here. Making our town more film-friendly could be a nice way to get additional attention. It's not a big idea, but it could be a nice thing to have.
Ms. Hamlet, we can wrap it up.
That's a great idea. We actually just had filming on Springfield Avenue, I believe it was, last Friday. So I agree. 3 quick points. This is your opportunity to get involved in the master plan, and that's why the selection is so important. We will be writing the master plan, and that will be an opportunity for you to think about how the downtown works. Secondly, one of the major things that the business owners asked us was to help them with the homeless individuals who are at their doorstep. We did that. We housed 24 individuals compassionately. Now they walk from their apartment buildings to the library to the train station. They're a part of the community. It was one of the #1 things that the businesses asked us to do. The other day I asked New Jersey Transit to power wash the front of the train station. It's unacceptable. Holding New Jersey Transit accountable for keeping the train station clean is of utmost importance. And we also have a plan to power wash the entire downtown and have a garbage plan with SDI.
Thank you. Okay, now we're coming back to the 90-second responses. So, given New Jersey's state mandate to provide affordable housing, how would you meet Summit's affordable housing obligation, considering the city has very limited land for development? Which specific project or type of project would you have supported to fulfill this requirement? Now, I'm trying to think. Kevin started, so Ms. La Saracina. Thanks.
Thanks, Liz. I have long supported the At Home in Summit proposal. I continue to support that proposal. It's for a modest, sensible 42 units on the old firehouse site. We may get into discussion of units per acreage, the density. That is one important consideration. It doesn't tell the whole story. That location is not currently highly trafficked as compared with the Harmon Holdings proposal on Ashwood and Morris. It is close to the bus stops, it's close to the train station. It would have showed, had it been included in round 3 or round 4 in a meaningful way, it would have provided us with real overprotection against overdevelopment instead of the kind of false toughness from our current council leadership that has made us a very easy target for builders' lawsuits and for the lawsuit from Fair Share. We need to hold in productive tension, right? We need to balance the reality that we all live with every day, that Summit is very built out. We know this. We are very densely populated. Summit is an incredible place to live. Lots of people want to live here, but we are very built out. At the same time, we have a state constitutional, a state law obligation to provide housing for our working families, right? For our teachers, for our police officers, for our nurses. So we need to think creatively. Councilwoman Hamlet on May 29th, 2025 said she would have supported the At Home in Summer proposal in round 3, but for the need to renegotiate their settlement agreement, which I disagree with. And then in round 4, except with respect to financing, there are low-income housing tax credits that are available.
Thanks. If we can keep it to 90 seconds, we're at the tail end. So, Ms. Hamlin?
Just going to need a break from sitting. So this is, I think, the most important part of the evening. You know, I went to Jack Cooper's funeral on Saturday, and Jack Cooper was one of the most meaningful, and I'll talk about it a little bit in my closing statements. We were at St. Teresa's, and many of you who were there to fight Broad Street West were at that funeral. It's part of the Summit Old Guard. Most of you, Democrats, Republicans, everybody was there. And one of the things that was so shocking about that day is as you left St. Teresa's, you're standing there on the ground that all of you fought for Broad Street West. And my opponent wants to put a 42-unit proposal that will completely deplete the Municipal Housing Trust Fund, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Some of the things that we've done with that Housing Trust Fund this year provided new housing for our house, special needs housing. That proposal is the most dense project that you will ever see in the city of Summit. It's almost 52 units per acre. It's completely underparked. Harmon Holdings started out as 33 units, 100% residential building. We were able to get it down to 20 with multi-use at the bottom, which won't be an impact to traffic. That was a unanimous decision by a bipartisan council. We did not want the other 3 projects in the town. Wells Fargo, 250. Across from the new firehouse, 300. That's a lot. That's a lot of density. If you don't want density, I hope and I implore you to vote for me this election.
Thanks. Any rebuttal, Ms. Laricina, or no? Okay.
I imagine that being disconnected from the truth is very freeing, but it is a disservice to the community, particularly for a sitting councilwoman. The community deserves to be able to trust what she says, and much of what she just said is simply not true. The At Home in Summit proposal is eligible and was, if the council majority had acted, a very attractive opportunity for low-income housing tax credit, which would have paid the vast majority of the cost. Because of their delay, we may be less able to obtain that funding. And now, because again of their incompetence and false toughness, we have to waste taxpayer dollars against 3 lawsuits.
We have to wrap that up. Thank you. Okay. I'm debating whether to go continue with this one, but we're going to go through that. Ms. Landman?
So for the fourth round affordable housing obligation, the state imposed on us a number over 300 units that they wanted us to build. And rightfully, we are fighting that number that is too high based on the land availability in the city. But what we need to do, this is not a partisan issue. No one here on this dais wants overdevelopment in our city. We need to be clear with the public about what the options are and what we can do to achieve a lower target. But the current proposal that was submitted to the state suggested that we only need to build 1 unit over the next 10 years in order to achieve our affordable housing obligation. That's just not credible. And why then would we put in there, in that same proposal, a plan to build at Harmon Holdings at a very congested neighborhood as it is right now, a 20-unit building to build 4 affordable units if we're suggesting we only need 1? It just doesn't make sense. It's not logical. And I want to be clear, that neighborhood is very heavily trafficked. This building will be terrible for traffic, terrible for infrastructure, terrible for the environment, and is overtaxing Jefferson School. So I do not support that building. And just to wrap it up, I'm very supportive of inclusive housing. I don't suggest that we build affordable only, and I think there are ways to achieve our target in a more reasonable and respectful way to the community.
Thank you, Ms. Landman. Mr. Zeber?
A couple things here. The Harmon Holdings project might not be the perfect project, but it is by far the most reasonable project of the ones that were proposed. The Wells Fargo project would have been 250 units, is my understanding. The project that was proposed near the new firehouse would have been 8 stories tall. I think to suggest anything otherwise is the other buzzword that's coming up in a lot of my remarks, which is grandstanding, like Ms. Saracena just did, when Councilwoman Hamlet's record on this issue is, it speaks for itself. I would just say a couple things. I grew up with divorced parents. My father was a paycheck-to-paycheck earner. My mother has lupus, has been on disability my entire life, and in fact, for 2 years in my life, collected food stamps. I have complete understanding of the state's goal and Summit's goal of providing affordable housing. But the requirement that we provide 4 regular units for every 1 affordable unit is good for no one but builders. It might be appropriate in a place with more open land, but not here, where it just causes a strain on our roads, our schools, our infrastructure, our essential services. So to answer your original question, my approach would be the same that Together for Summits has been, which is a focus on low-density projects spread throughout town, not monstrosities like Broad Street West. I also think that as council members, you have to be advocates, and while I understand our ability to change Mount Laurel is limited, we need to be constantly letting Trenton know how destructive Mount Laurel is to places like Summit.
Thank you. Mr. Christophilly?
So I think I really need to answer this. I'm an independent thinker. I'm not the Democrats of several years ago that came up with the Broad Street West project, and I've been unfairly tarnished with the assumption that I am supporting overdevelopment when I do not. I support small-scale developments that are not low-income only, that are appropriate to the size of the neighborhood in which they're located. I agree that the project here at Morris and Ashwood is a really bad idea. I walked in that neighborhood just yesterday. There are literally no sidewalks and no parking around that building. So there will be storefronts there with no idea where those customers would park. There are 20 spaces inside, I believe, that would be for the residents. So, I think smaller scale developments are great, but they have to respect the neighborhoods. And overdevelopment isn't just about the number of units, it's about the relative scale for its location. And I think we need to be respectful to neighborhoods in that.
Thank you. Wrap up. Mr. Smallwood?
Thank you very much. Regarding the 42 units that was mentioned before, it was probably one of the most high-density unit buildings that was proposed to us. On top of the 250-unit building down by the Wells Fargo building, and on top of the 8-story, 300-unit building that was proposed to us as well. I also want to address the misrepresentation that was actually on social media just before this debate tonight, was the fact that we are for overdevelopment. Because we didn't include those two projects, those three projects, that we're now in lawsuits. Those are not lawsuits, and those are challenges to our fourth round affordable housing plan. They are not lawsuits. They are challenges in which we fully expected from two developers that we rejected and did not put in our fourth round of affordable housing plan in the fourth round because they were simply too dense. A 250-unit building, an 8-story unit building that would have been basically Broad Street East across from the Broad Street garage. Now, what we did include was a development that was originally 100% 33 residential units, and we were able to actually negotiate with those developers to reduce it down to 20 units for residential. On the bottom, we were able to get them to do
If we can wrap it up,
residential
please.
with ample parking. Thank you.
Thank you. So I don't know where the time has gone. So we actually have one more closing interview question. And then we'll have, I'm not going to. So I'm going to have a closing interviewing question. It says, what do you think will be the most important issues facing Summit over the next 5 years? So this is our last question for the night because it's almost 9 o'clock. You guys are amazing. So we're going to start with Ms. LaSaracina, if you can answer that, please.
Sure. I'm kind of a budget nerd. I think the most important issue is our municipal taxes and our big bloated budget. Under the current leadership, we've had 2 consecutive years of tax increases. Our capital budget has doubled in a 2-year period. We are not spending in a responsible way. That's the community's money, right? That's not the council's money. It needs to be spent responsibly and tied to strategic priorities. I have been listening really carefully, as I know you all have too, paying really close attention. After 2+ years of leadership, I know what our current council majority is against. It seems like they're maybe stuck from 3 years ago. I'm kind of shocked about how much we heard about Broad Street West. We're not working for the Summit of 3 years ago. We don't need to be looking behind us. We need to be looking forward. Our community is dealing with tariffs, with inflation, rising energy costs. We need to be doing everything we reasonably can at home, where we have control, to be the most excellent stewards of our taxpayer dollars, not investing in pet projects or cute things for photo ops. We need to prioritize needs over wants. Sorry if this is frustrating, but again, it's the truth, and I don't think it's grandstanding to tell the community the truth. They deserve to hear it.
Ms. Hamlet?
So I'm going to respond to your municipal budget. We've had a city administrator who's now working for the Division of Local Government Services who worked for the City of Summit for 10 years, and a CFO who's worked for the City of Summit for 6 years under bipartisan leadership. This year's finance was run again by Councilwoman Claire Toth. So I find it ironic that our 2% increase, which was well below inflation, is the cause of chaos. The paddle courts, the lights, everything started under Mayor Radis. These are all bipartisan decisions. We have excellent city staff who lead us through an amazing budget project. In 22 and 23, we had to keep our capital budget to $2 million because we're reducing debt from the firehouse, which is okay. We had to increase it to $4 million the following year, which if you look at the past city budget explanations, all of the city administrators agreed with that. I think the capital budget in 2019 was $15 million, or was 1 year it was $15 million. $4 million is not anywhere near reality. We have to keep up with our playgrounds. We have to keep up with our infrastructure. These are things that we need to invest in. I give Claire a lot of credit for running the finance team this year. There was complete agreement unanimously on the finance decisions of the City of Summit this year. That's why we appointed a Democratic councilwoman.
Thank you. Ms. Landman?
I also agree that it's about the budget. Again, I want to state we need to focus on prioritization and prioritizing needs over wants. We need to invest in our infrastructure. I think two other things. We need to improve the transparency of the process. If elected to council, I will be transparent with my constituents about how I rank items that go into the budget. I want to be clear with the public about what it is I'm prioritizing on their behalf. I also think there's some process points that need to be adjusted. This year we had a surprise $500,000 add to the budget after the budget was approved because of soft costs that weren't accounted for. So while Claire has done an amazing job addressing some of the initial needs that needed to be fixed first, we still have a ways to go to protect our property values and manage our taxes in a more effective way.
Awesome. Mr. Zieber, you're going to wrap it up, then we're going to...
The question was most important issue in the next 5 years?
Correct.
So I think it depends. So right now, the answer is probably the master plan because it's going to dictate what the city of Summit looks like in 5 years. But I think it also depends on what we do on crime, because if we hand the council back to the majority that fumbled that issue, then we may be dealing with a city that has a lot of crime. I also want to just point out that I am sure that our opponents don't want to talk about Broad Street West because that is harmful to their case, that they're anti-overdevelopment. But the fact is, it's not that distant of a memory, and it's something that we have to learn from. You have to learn from history, and history says that was an unpopular, poorly planned initiative that failed for a reason. And last thing is on the issue of transparency. It's hard to make that case when much of the SMDC's practices are censoring people with dissenting opinions on their social media platforms. So I agree with Ms. Landman that we need transparency, but I also think we have to practice what we preach.
Awesome. Thank you, thank you. You know, you guys were unbelievable. We should give them a hand of applause. It's amazing. You were spirited, you're engaged, a little ruckus going on, all good, all in the name of, helping and supporting our community. So I thank you for that. So with that, we're going to have our closing. You have 2 minutes. If you want to stand on the podium or you can sit, you're fine. Mr. Smallwood, you have the honor of going first.
Again, thank you, Ms. Knoll, for providing a wonderful debate here today. You handled yourself very well. Thank you very much. HGTV, thank you very much for supporting this. And again, most importantly, thank you for being here, being engaged, and for those of you that will be watching at home through the recording. When I ran for council, I promised results. And in 18 months, we've delivered. Safer streets, with new police officers and a resident protection ordinance, functional zero homelessness by housing 24 individuals and addressing mental health and addiction, better fields and parks for thousands of student athletes, a responsible budget and working with an energy aggregate program to lower household costs by at least 5%, as well as a solar consultant that has given us a comprehensive study for our entire city, including our schools, that we will be bringing to council soon. I've stood up for the right-sized development that protects our neighborhoods and schools. But I also want to leave you with this. Being a local official is different from being a state or national politics. Our kids go to school together. We see each other on the street, at a restaurant, or in CVS. We are not career politicians. We are volunteers. We're doing our best to make our city safer, cleaner, and more affordable. At the end of the day, this is about protecting our families investing in kids, and caring for our most vulnerable. I am proud of what we have accomplished in 18 months. And together, again, I humbly ask you for your support to continue moving Summit forward. Thank you.
Ms. La Saracena? Christina?
Thank you all for being here. Summit is a really special place. My parents are here with us tonight. I used to love coming here as a kid with them, having family dinners at Winbury's, looking at the fancy clothes and seal fawns, fireworks on the 4th of July. I feel so lucky to be raising my family here. It's a great town, and it deserves great leadership. We heard a lot this evening. What I didn't hear clearly from Delia tonight or in the past 2.5 years is her positive vision for Summit's future. Again, we're not working for the Summit of 3 years ago. We're working for the Summit we all want in 10 and 20 years. I have learned so much talking with neighbors around town, on front porches and at kitchen tables. Taking this all in, our vision for Summit, as I see it, is a place where every hilltopper has what they need to thrive, where local government operates with excellence, quietly, in the background, to manage our resources responsibly. This vision is supported by 3 pillars: public safety, public schools, and public service. This is the Summit I believe we all want for our kids, for our seniors, for all of us. We have everything we need, and we can get there together with the right leadership team. Dan, Chantal, and I, we hope to earn your vote by this November. Thank you.
Ms. Hamlet?
Thank you all again for coming tonight, and thank you for all the candidates who stood up to serve. It's not easy, having been in that hot seat. They're not supposed to know all the answers, and I think it just credit for everybody who is running. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but as I stand here tonight, I can't help, again, thinking about the funeral and Jack Cooper the other night. To so many, he was what we talked about, Lightning Jack, but to all of us, he was a light in this community. I remember I would go to Great Decisions with him and Fred Honnold, and he would always be asking questions. For more than 60 years, Jack and Millie Cooper poured their hearts into Summit. They were here when someone needed help, when an organization needed leadership, when our community needed a steady hand. They were pillars, Millie still is, not because of titles, but because of service. When Jack passed, I was reminded of something Millie once said. Summit is inclusive, participatory, respectful, and diverse. It is this Summit culture that makes the difference. That is what we are called to protect. That is what's at stake in this election. Summit is not just a series of buildings and streets. It's a community with distinct character, built generation after generation by people like Jack and Millie. They gave of themselves so that children and their children would inherit a city that is strong, welcoming, and united. That is the tradition that I aspire to carry forward as your council member, to listen, to bring people together, to put service above politics. Because this city is not defined by party labels. It is defined by neighbors who show up for one another, just as Jack did. So I ask you to imagine this. When our time of service is done, what do we want people to say about us? Do we want to protect Summit's character? Did we keep it safe? Did we leave it stronger than we found it? That is my promise to you, to serve with the same love, humility, and courage that the Coopers gave to Summit. This election is more than about policies. It's about who we are as a community. And I believe with all my heart, Summit's best days are ahead. If we stay true to our values, if we choose unity over division, if we choose leaders who understand that public office is not about power, but service. In wrapping up, tonight I humbly ask for your trust to keep carrying that torch forward. For Jack, for Millie, for all who came before them. This is our town. Let's honor it. Let's protect its future, and let's build it together for Summit.
Ms. Landman?
Summit, I hope that tonight you've heard some clear contrasts. My opponent wants to join the Republican majority to continue their policies. We have watched them waste time and money and damage our community's reputation. This year alone, we've watched low-quality ordinances proposed, tabled, rewritten, and reintroduced repeatedly. The Republican Council majority have pushed ahead with their priorities even when it is clear the community doesn't agree with them. From the dais and all over social media, we hear and read comments from the Republican candidates and electeds revealing a concerning lack of leadership experience, a tone of divisiveness, and even public shaming of colleagues and residents. That is not leadership. This dysfunction isn't just frustrating, it comes at a real cost to all of us. Legal fees are stacking up, projects are delayed and over budget. In a professional workplace, this kind of behavior would have consequences. In public service, it should too. We have a powerful opportunity to chart a new course. We need to elect leaders who are accountable to all residents, leaders who listen, who communicate, who collaborate. We need public servants, not politicians. I have skin in the game. I have deep ties in the community through my volunteer work, youth sports, my work, my husband, my kids, and my friends. I'm doing this for them and for all of us. We have a beautiful community, and we have an opportunity to do better. The future of Summit is in your hands. Again, I hope to earn your vote. Thank you.
Mr. Zieber? See, I told you I'd get it right. I know.
I'd like to again thank HCTV, Ms. Newell, and all the candidates for making this forum a great success. When I think about why I'm running, it really comes down to the kind of Summit we want for our families. Not long ago, under the former council majority, Summit was moving in the wrong direction. Overdevelopment was pushed forward without regard to the quality of our neighborhoods or quality of life. Car thefts and home break-ins were on the rise, leaving families worried in a community that should always feel safe. Our unhoused population was too often treated without compassion, and instead of investing in programs that bring our young people together, like sports, recreation, and leadership opportunities, those priorities were left behind. That is not the Summit my wife and I chose when we decided to build our life here. And that is why the work of the Together for Summit team has been so important. In just a few short years, we've seen real progress. The current council majority has invested in stronger public safety measures. They've stopped irresponsible overdevelopment. They've made youth programs and athletics a priority again, because building community means investing in our kids, and they've led with compassion. That is the Summit we deserve, and that's the vision I want to help carry forward. I'm proud to be running alongside a team that is committed to keeping Summit safe, vibrant, and affordable while protecting the character of our neighborhoods. I encourage every resident of Summit to consider whether they are better off today than they were just 3 years ago. I'm confident they will conclude that they are. And my opponent is right. I do want to continue the policies of Together for Summit. And if you love the policies and the performance of Mayor Fagan, my running mates, Councilman Pulowski and Councilman Boyer, you should consider the fact that I played a big role in selecting them all as candidates when they were running for the first time. I hope to be able to serve each of you when the calendar turns to 2026, because together, as I said earlier, we can keep Summit the gold standard of New Jersey municipalities. Ward 2, I ask for your trust, your partnership, and your vote. Thank you, and have a wonderful night.
Mr. Chris Foley, bring us home.
Thanks, Liz. When tonight's forum is over, I hope you remember why I'm running and what I stand for. I'm a little taller. I'm a lot taller. Bringing Summit together to solve our mounting problems. Rising taxes up 16% in the past 2 years in terms of spending of the city budget, and that's on the city website. Unsustainable development, cuts to our schools, and stormwater that floods our homes. I bring solid values from my small-town upbringing and deep and relevant experience to serve Summit. I know how to plan ahead, manage budgets, and deliver results. A question I didn't get to answer is what I would love to see in Summit 5 years from now. I would love to see a Summit where the bad effects of social media, which do not encourage open and positive debate in our town, it discourages communities from building, and it basically results in people silencing themselves and being bullied. We had an example at last week's council meeting where there was credit taken for the great work of community organizations over many years, and the numbers were severely inflated, and the credit was given to one individual who's running for office. My opponent called the 2 council members who didn't stand to applaud disgusting. I find that unacceptable. His followers then heckled, hissed at me, and followed me to my car. One of them followed me to my car. I believe that's not acceptable in Summit, and I want to see a future where we can come together for solutions. I'm Dan Crisafulli. I'm an independent thinker who will bring steady leadership, sensible ideas, and work for real solutions. Summit deserves better. Let's fix this together.
Thank you so much. Once again, to our candidates, you are rock stars. I hope our community came to know you as residents, as our neighbors, not just a political opponent, as I said before. And I just want to thank our community. I am so blessed to have been born and raised in this community, and I'm always amazed at everything that you guys come out for. You've got heart, like we're hilltoppers. And whoever wins in November wins. But beyond that, we are neighbors, we come out, we support, and thank you for doing this, Hometown TV. You guys rock, and we're so grateful for this opportunity. I'm happy that the community got to hear the answers. So hopefully you'll figure the things out and everything will be all good. Have a great night, and thank you again. One more applause for our candidates.